Good morning, everybody. It's Danny and Wanda back from Deep South Homestead. Guys, with all the talk going around now about banning gas stoves, banning wood-burning heaters and stuff like that in the near future, it's a real big possibility with the different forums that's going on in the world. Some states, wood stoves, they say, is already illegal. Well, when they say wood stoves are illegal, the old style wood stoves are becoming illegal. This one right here is one that reburns its gases and stuff. It's a catalyst type stove. It's very efficient. We don't have to worry about lots of things with this one. This one burns really, really clean. I do clean my chimney pipe usually once a year. Sometimes I wait all year before I clean it. Depends on how much of a winter we've had. But I wanted to just take a moment this morning and show you a little bit about how I go about building a fire and how it works, and about being more self-sufficient, because with the things that's coming up with the gas stoves and the wood burning heaters and stuff like this, there's talk now. Don't quote me on this. There's just talk floating around in the forums of the world, let's say, that if you already possess one of the newer model wood stoves and the newer gas stoves, then you can be grandfathered in to the system that they have coming. And then down the road from that, the talk is that if you don't comply with certain regulations, because see, all this is about is regulating everything. It's about creating more regulations. And down the road, if you don't comply to the new regulations, then you'll lose your homeowner's insurance, which I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, because our forefathers didn't have all these insurances and everything to burden them down and stuff. And it's just going to go back to the simple fact: are you willing to, foot the bill if something happens to your house? Our forefathers rebuilt their homes if something happened to them. People in the neighborhoods kicked in, and the communities kicked in and helped them rebuild. And that's what we really ought to get back to, rather than depending on if something happens to our structure, then we need somebody to give us money back for the act of nature that happened, or whatever. But it's one of those things. They're trying to capture us every way that they can. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, other than just a simple fact to be ready for different types of compliances that come along. If the loss of insurances and things like that, if you don't comply the way they want you to. And then if you do keep a wood heater, and even though it's a more modern one, you will be asked to purchase some sort of a carbon credit in order to be able to use it based on the amount of emissions that this particular stove emits into the air. This is all coming down the pipe. It's just a matter of how much are you willing to comply to. So this one we've had for, oh my word, we've had this probably 4 or 5 years or more. It's one of the more modern ones when we bought it. It heats 3,000 square feet. You can cook on the surface of it. We've cooked on it many times. It's a Vogelzang Ponderosa. You can get them for 800 square feet, 1,000, 2,000. It's based on BTUs is what it's based on, where they heat different square footages. And I'm telling you, if you don't own a good, more modern wood stove, and guys, look, don't go buy the cheap stuff out there. You're going to spend $1,000 or better on a wood stove. I don't remember exactly what this one cost. I think it was around $1,400 or something like that, about 5 or 6 years ago. I haven't even looked to see what one of them costs now, this size. I actually have another one, a new one, that's made for smaller square footage, just in case they try to take them away from us. I have it, and I think it was around $800 getting it shipped here and everything for it. But the money doesn't come in the stove. See, that's where they get you. You buy the stove, and with it, let me go ahead and tell you, go ahead and get you a fire brick set to go in it, because we're going to talk about that in just a minute. The money comes in this pipe going out the top of the roof up there. Depending on, this is single wall pipe on the inside in here to release heat in here. And I have a heat regular indicator here where it tells me my burn zones. And then I have a regular one going down here that like goes into an oven, and it tells me the heat right here on the surface. If I want to cook or something, I can set it down here. It tells me the heat of the surface here as to what I'm doing. And but when you buy the thing, guys, don't just stick a pipe through a wall. Please don't do that. If you're going to do this, do it right. Here we have a thimble through the wall right here. This thimble was a little over $100 several years ago. And around this thimble is a 2x4 frame that is covered in cement board so that the heat doesn't ever get to the 2x4. It gets to the cement board first. And when you go outside into a room I have back there, there is a clean out tee. And that clean out tee is several $100s. And then from that point forward, this piece of pipe right here is like a couple of dollars an inch. And then once you start from the clean out tee going out through the roof, the bonnet you put on top is going to be around $100. And then depending on, they make 3 or 4 different style pipes going up. Depending on which one you get, they can range anywhere from $1.50 an inch up to $3 and something an inch. Now I'm saying an inch. Depending on the height of the stack. Mine's 23 feet, so that'll tell you that's a lot of moolah in just the pipe. So when you buy the stove, also go ahead and factor into the fact that a lot of the money is going to be spent going out the stack, so to say. But I want to show you a few things. Now, this one has got the glass in it because we like to be able to see the fire burning. And a lot of people go, oh, mine stays so smutted up, I can't see the fire. That's because it's not burning clean enough. Wanda cleans this one every so often, and it probably gets close to it now. But it's very simple. Don't go buy a bunch of cleaner stuff. Just take your paper towel, dampen it with a little bit of water, reach in here and touch those ashes. It wipes right off. Don't buy the cleaners. I mean, that's very, very efficient way to clean. And if you're interested in seeing that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Wanda has a video over on her channel on CRAZY DAZES about how to clean the glass on a wood burning heater like this. One thing, don't ever take all of your ashes out of the fireplace on one of these brick lined stoves like this, because if you do, you will literally destroy the bricks that's in it. Especially these bottom ones right here. Always leave a little bit of ash. I leave about 1 inch deep in there. And what I'll do is I'll take like this is a piece of bark. I don't throw away any of my stuff when I'm doing it. I'll take a piece of bark and reach in here and I'll just kind of roll. I bank them up on each side, coming up like this. I bank them up like that. Now this one has an ash pit beneath it. I can rake it back right there, and I can let the ashes fall into an ash pan if I decide to go that route. I don't hardly ever do that because I have an ash bucket over there, and I take a shovel and I clean out some of the ashes and I spread them back around just like I did there, and I lay a piece of bark crossways like this right here because the fresh air coming in right now. Another thing about this stove, this one, if we can look behind it here, I want to mention this before we build a fire. This one was mobile home approved. It has a fresh air vent coming in right here from the outside out here. That way I'm not pulling air from inside the house to burn this wood stove. And it has a blower on the back of it that plugs in. The blower is a variable speed. You can run on low or you can run on high. The only thing about this particular model is the blower makes a lot of racket. If you don't like a lot of racket, then you probably won't want it. But what happens is the heat from the air from the blower comes up across right here. It blows across the top of the stove coming out, and it blows heat into the room. So what we also have here is an echo fan. Now this takes no electricity to operate. Well, once this stove heats to a certain point, the heat rises up in here, and there's a little tiny electric motor in the back of it right here. Right in there is a little electric motor that as the heat passes up through these fans and all here, it creates electric current that this thing will sit and begin to spin, and it moves, I think, if I remember correct, it's been many, many years since I bought this thing, but I think it moves 75 cubic feet of air a minute, just blowing out into the room here. No electricity is needed to be able to blow it. And I installed a damper in the pipe also, just in the event if there's a chimney fire or something like that happens, I can reach up and I can pop that thing like that and shut the oxygen off in that pipe and kill it. Or I can control the amount of heat that the stove is putting out right here by, I can do it either here, or with this one, there is a series of knobs underneath here. One of them lets fresh air into this, and the other one closes the air down into the box here. And I have them adjusted so that it burns kind of not fast, but not real slow either. It just makes a good hot burn the way I have it set. You can set it based on whatever works best for you and your family. Okay, one of the other things here in the house, I keep a basket full of fat pine lighter that's been pre-split to start fires with. Behind me over here is a 5-gallon bucket that I keep pieces of wood from the wood splitter. Whenever it's splitting the wood, these little shavings of wood bust off like this. I don't throw none of that stuff away. I keep all this stuff in a bucket here because it really makes it easy for building a fire. Now I don't use a lot of fat pine lighter in here because I don't want to create a lot of creosote up into the pipe. And a lot of these stoves I've looked at, this one included, talked about building a fire from the top down. I wasn't raised that way. I'm not saying it won't work. It's just not how I do it here. My father raised me to put the kindling wood under the bottom and not on the top of the fire. I don't know, with me, it just makes sense to put your kindling under the bottom of a fire. Now, once I get the fat pine lighter in there, then I take these little shavings of wood, and they got the little fuzzy ends on them here where they broke up. I'll put them in with the fuzzy ends sticking out toward the edge here. And I just kind of lay some of them around in there. Little splittings of wood and stuff that come off, you know, this little small kindling wood here. To me, this is the secret of getting any fire started. And then I'll take some smaller wood. I don't use no big old pieces right off the bat. I use smaller wood to get the fire going. And I don't put a lot of wood in the heater to start with. I don't just pack it full. I'll put me like 3 small pieces right here. And then once I get a small bed of coals going, then I'll come in and start putting bigger wood on top of it. Now we're below freezing out there this morning. And we purposely didn't build a fire in it and keep it going all night so we could do this video this morning. But because we use the fat pine lighter, the one thing about it is it flames up almost immediately. And because of the way I have the knob set under the bottom right here, when I close this door, it's going to suck the flame over the wood, and we get a perfect draft up the pipe every time. And now basically all we'll do is within the next 10 to 15 minutes, this thing will literally ignite this whole fire and will be burning hot, and it won't take long before this fan will begin to turn. Because the way this thing works is it has a shelf in it up in here with some little pipes in it full of a bunch of little holes that's drilled in it. And it has the heat hits that shelf, and then it comes out the front up here in the top, and it goes over the top of it, has like an asbestos material on it, and it runs back over the top and runs back up into this pipe here, allowing it to reburn everything. Now when you first do this, it's going to be kind of smoky because we put the fat pine lighter in it, and the fat pine lighter is really rosinous. That's the reason that fire is getting as hot as it's getting as quickly as it is, but it won't take but just a little while, and it'll burn every bit of that out of that system in there. You don't have to worry about a lot of creosote buildup or anything like that. We've done this now since October this year, and everything still looks good in there. No thick creosote buildup or anything like that. I think we've cleaned the glass maybe twice since then, and it works really, really nice. This is a very efficient heater for heating a home. It's not some of the most fancy brand names. It's a Vogelzang, but it has done a fantastic job. And like I said, one of our biggest things that we learned was the fire bricks in it. If you buy the standard fire bricks that go back in this heater, you will pay a fortune for them. Well, what we do is we just order the regular fire bricks from Amazon. I think they're 4x9 or something like that, 1.5 inches thick. I have a wet tile saw, and I just cut them to fit the small ones that goes in this heater. If one of them goes bad, I just buy the regular bricks and cut my own. To me, that's the most economical way to operate one of these wood heaters. As you see, it didn't take but just a second there, and the fire is really up and going good. The top has already got hot, so it doesn't take but just a minute. You can actually leave the door open if you want to, but you see how when I open it up, the oxygen starts hitting and how it starts splattering? Now if I open it up all the way, see how the fire dies down? It's too much oxygen for this particular stove. If I close it back, watch it. Look at it. See how it immediately starts flaming back up? Because that's the correct amount of oxygen, the way I have this thing adjusted. And what will happen is it's burning at a slower pace right now, and it's going to get a good bed of coals going pretty quick. And once that bed of coals is going, then all we basically have to do from that point on is just throw a bigger piece of wood in on it. Don't close your wood heaters down to the point where they're just smoking all the time and smoldering, because that's where you get creosote buildup in your pipes. Now, my father, if I'd have told him I was going to burn dry wood in my heater, he'd have said, "You're a nut." My daddy always burned, believe it or not, he burnt pine wood and he burnt green wood. He burnt fires so hot you couldn't even stand near this heater. And he said the problem is people don't burn hot enough fires. The man never had a chimney fire. All the years of me growing up, his pipes always stayed pretty clean. I mean, it was amazing how that he didn't adhere to the technology that we use today, and yet he never had a chimney fire. These old people, they knew some stuff that we don't know. Problem is today, I'm not sure we burn these as hot as the old people did. I mean, because they called them backup fires. Now, this, to me, is already, it's done getting pretty hot. I think it's working pretty efficient myself, to be honest with you. I don't think I have to have the old-fashioned way of doing it. I think that the new modern way is working just as efficient as the old way did. Now, I don't know how much longer it's going to take for this to get that to turning, but I like this thing up here, this burn indicator. It tells me now that I'm at 100 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit in the pipe, and as it gets hotter, if you want to burn a clean pipe, you need to run around 400 degrees inside this pipe here in order for this pipe to stay clean. That's what I like about that. It tells me the temperature right in that area of the pipe, so I don't have to worry about a bad creosote buildup. This one here, down here, tells me that I can still lay my hand right here. It's not even hot back here. But right here, I can't lay my hand right there. Now I could take this, if I wanted to, I could move it up here, and it probably wouldn't take long before that temperature gauge from the heat rising up off of this will start telling me the temperature that it is right here. And really the only time we move this up here is if we're going to be cooking up here. And we know that, say, we need something that runs at 300 degrees, or we need something that runs at 150 degrees to cook in a kettle or something like that for a long term without running the risk of scorching it or something. Then we'll set this up here and it'll kind of tell us the surface temperature and how much heat is rising up off of this right here. But basically, from this point forward, it's just a matter of sitting and waiting. And we'll usually go do our chores and things like that in the morning, and then we'll come back in, and by then this is burnt down to some coals, and we're able to throw some wood in on top of it and get it going. So guys, I hope that today the tutorial on using a wood stove, the way we do here in the Deep South. Now we've had other people here that look at our firewood and go, wow, from up north, and say, that's just kindling wood for us. And I tell them, yeah, but in the South, if we use big old giant pieces of wood like they do up north, like this morning, it was 29 degrees here this morning, and by 9 o'clock, it'll probably be 45 to 50, and then by 12 o'clock it'll be up in the 60s. And if I put big old giant pieces of wood in this heater, by 10 o'clock we'll be opening doors and windows and everything around here trying to get the heat out of this house. So that's why in the Deep South we don't use big giant pieces of wood unless we've got multiple days that it's not going to get warm at all. It's going to stay cloudy, windy, and cold. Then we have big pieces of wood that we stick in the wood heater to keep it going for longer periods of time. But other than that, we just burn the smaller pieces in it. They'll usually run 2 to 3 hours, and we have to put more in there, but that's okay with us in the Deep South because we don't want to overheat our houses down here. Because our coal usually goes from about 2 o'clock in the morning to about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the day. That's our cold spells, unless some Arctic blast or something's coming through. The other temperature times usually warm up to where the body can handle it pretty easy. And here we go. See here? How long did that take? Maybe 10 minutes for it to start turning. And the hotter it gets, the faster this spins. So see, a small simple fire, a little fan blowing, you feel the wind coming off of it right here, slight, but it's moving. It doesn't take much wind movement to be able to, for the heat to transfer out. And might I also add that if you're going to be putting a wood heater in your house, pick the location where it's best utilized in the house. Now this one is not necessarily heating my whole entire home because of where it's located. Had it been on the wall behind the camera over here, it would have heated the house a whole lot more efficiently, but it would have meant going through 1, 2 different roofs to get through the roof up yonder, and it would have come out right at the vent on the top of the house, and we really didn't want that. We wanted to be able to keep it on the gable end back here of this great room so that we could just use it for the great room here. But now the heat, if we turn the ceiling fans on where they're actually, instead of blowing down on you, they're pulling up and blowing the heat out around the ceilings and it's coming back down around the outside walls, then it will actually start heating the other rooms in the house if we start using the ceiling fans to do that. So, okay. I didn't know if this was going to actually make it before we got through the video, but it did, guys. So once again, if you enjoy these types of videos, give us a thumbs up, hit that like button so that we can get in the algorithm, guys, so that more people get to see about the information of these stoves and get yourself grandfathered in pretty quick. Because down the line, guys, we all know they're trying to regulate us more and more and more. So Get grandfathered in if you can. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.